Before I begin, I'd like to take this moment to express my deepest thanks to some very important people. First and foremost, to Rabbi Martin Cohen, who is not just a rabbinic mentor, but truly someone to look up to follow, and to admire. Thank you for all you have done over the past 3 years. I cannot imagine working for a better, more confident, more caring, and more loving rabbi. To the leadership of JTS and the Rabbinical School, Chancellor Eisen, Rabbi Nevins, Rabbi Reskei, all of my professors over the years. To say I would not be here, ready to give my senior sermon without all of you, would be an understatement. To my classmates, friends, colleagues, confidants, we made it, and now the fun begins. And finally, to my family, to my dad, my sister, grandparents, loved ones who I know will watch this online, and especially, truly, to my wife. My love and my thanks is endless. It is because of you I am able to do this holy work, and I am truly a product of the shoulders I have stood on. I've been presented with an amazing opportunity here. More than just the opportunity to address the JTS community and all those gathered here and watching at home, I have the opportunity today to speak about the same parsha as I read and spoke about at my bar mitzvah 13 years ago. And it turns out that while this is a rare opportunity, certainly not one I expected to have as a shorter, skinnier 13-year-old, it is not wholly unique. In fact, Rabbi Nevins had the same opportunity when he spoke about Vayikra at his senior sermon, as he had done when he became a bar mitzvah. And my childhood rabbi, Stuart Seltzer, spoke about Lech Lecha on both occasions as well. And now I'd like to speak about Nitzavim, as I did in 2006. I briefly considered using the same sermon, but thought better of it. But I thought better of that plan, choosing a new path than the one I took then, hopefully a bit more structured, with an eye towards the future. As I reflected on the past 13 years, and what life has looked like in the nearly decade and a half since I stood as a young man on the Bima at Chizuk Emunah congregation in Baltimore, Maryland, I realized that life has been nothing like what I imagined at 13. The world is much the same. The same wars we were fighting in 2006 are being fought today. Climate change is still a topic that is discussed and about which little is done. The economy is strong and yet perhaps on the brink of disaster. The world around us is filled with both acceptance and rejection, love and ridicule. It is, at its best, a place we must face and conquer each and every day, alone and yet also with community. On a more personal level, I think back to who I was and who surrounded me at 13. I stood on the Bima next to my parents and my younger sister. I did not know the woman who would one day become my wife. I had no idea what I wanted to do in the military, only that joining was a dream. Now I stand here as second lieutenant in the world's greatest Air Force, with my dad and sister in the first row next to my wife, all of us remembering that the last time I stood in this place, in front of the entire JTS community, was when I eulogized my mother, Zichronah Livracha, during my first year of rabbinical school. I was then, as I am now, surrounded by community, lifted by your presence, and encouraged that as we all move forward through this year, especially as the senior class moves forward with our senior sermons and final Nusach presentations, that this community will be ready to support us. We each took different roads to get here. Each of our individual stories is amazing and should be shared and listened to. And each is made up of thousands of moments of choice between two distinct paths, between life and death, between blessings and curses. When Moses goes before the people and tells them that set before them is the choice between life and death, and that they should choose life, he does not truly mean that choosing death is to choose to die in this moment. The choice is far more complicated than that. And that choice is set before us more than once in our life. Choosing life in this sense is not just in choosing not to die in one moment, it is choosing how to live. Choose between blessing and curse. In each of our actions, we must choose how we want to live. Rashi says much of the same thing when he says, Ani moreh lachem shetipacharu bechelek hachayim ke'adam ha'obner libno, Bachor lecha chelek yafeh benachalti, that we should choose and embrace the good in life. What has happened in the past, we know we cannot change. There is no way to turn back time and redo those moments where we erred and we chose the wrong path. Instead, we must recommit ourselves to choosing differently the next time. Maimonides in his Hilchot Teshuvah makes it clear that we have the capacity to choose good over evil, blessings over curses. And he urges us to think about each of our actions, and that one simple deed is not so small that it has no effect on the grand picture. He, like Moses, realizes that those small deeds build on top of one another, coming together to create the bigger picture of our life. And so, we must do as the ancients did, and see each choice as one between life and death, and we must choose life. We stand now at a profound moment in our history, in the eternal struggle between what Abraham Lincoln referred to in his first inaugural address, with so much ahead of him, as yet unaware of what perils the future would truly hold, between what he referred to as our better angels and the destructive forces which seek to divide this nation. We stand between those who seek to mend division, those who seek to find the similarities between disparate communities and build on those for good, and those who wish to divide, those who wish to build walls and demonize the human beings on the other side. What we need in this moment, what the Torah clearly calls us to do, is to find the path of blessing, the path of hope, and walk down that path. Moses addresses the nation as individuals, that each person can choose their own best way forward. And it is up to us, up to each person standing before Moses and God, both there in the desert and right now, as we look towards the first days of 5780, to choose that path. Choose it for yourself and then bring others with you. The Torah is clear when it leaves no room for the excuse of following others down the wrong path. You must choose for yourself. But it is also clear that we must help others as well. We must bring them along for good and for blessings. The work is not easy, and there are so many moments when we wish we could choose life and that path is just not there. When a loved one is suffering, or when we are diagnosed with a terminal illness, when we turn on the news and see footage of yet another mass shooting in a community just like ours. In each of these moments, we plead for the path of life. In each of these moments, we want nothing more than to be told there is another path, and we can walk down it just as easily as the one we walk on. And yet we know that that is not always the reality, that sometimes those paths are not exactly there, that we have a choice instead of how we move forward, rather than with whom we move forward. And despite the incredible difficulty, we cannot say in this moment that it is too hard and we quit. We cannot simply walk away. We cannot afford to simply walk away. In those moments, the opposite is necessary. We must rise up and say, this is hard, I cannot do it alone. I don't see the path of blessing and life and God, it is missing. I need this community to help me find it again. We must rescue the notion of hope in order to choose life. Hope that choosing to go down the path of life will actually result in a happier life. We must have hope that the future we wish for is a viable option for us and for future generations. We read in chapter 29, V'lo idchem levadchem anochi koret et habrit hazot ve'et halah hazot, ki et asher yeshno po imanu omed hayom lifnei Adonai Eloheinu, ve'et asher inenu po imanu hayom. But not only with you am I making this covenant and this oath, but with those standing here with us today before the Lord our God, and also with those who are not here with us this day. The Torah is clear here that Moses is not only speaking to those assembled in the desert, and that this does not just apply to those people. And the ancients were explicit in expanding the definition of who Moses is speaking to, when they said that Moses is not just speaking here to the Jewish people, but by saying everyone, including the stranger in your camp, that our hope, our choices, and ultimately our future rests in the collective hands of our community. When we choose the path of life, we should be a force for good in our community and choose life for those less fortunate as well. Abraham Lincoln spoke of this nation as the last best hope on earth. But we only have hope when we truly choose life for ourselves, for our neighbors, and for all citizens of this country. We have hope when we realize that the ties that bind us will always be stronger than the walls that divide us. We have hope when we move forward as people of different backgrounds and different races, religions, languages, sexual orientations, but as one people. E pluribus unum. It is our uniting call because it is what makes America so great in the first place. From many, from all backgrounds, we are one. And so that must be the call for ourselves, for the communities we serve and the ones we call home, and for each other as we hope to better this nation. I often think of the words of Mary Oliver, an American poet and Pulitzer Prize winner, who passed away earlier this year, leaving us with poems like Summer Day, which said in part this: I don't know exactly what a prayer is. I do know how to pay attention, how to fall down into the grass, how to kneel down in the grass, how to be idle and blessed, how to stroll through the fields, which is what I've been doing all day. Tell me, what else should I have done? Doesn't everything die at last and too soon? Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? So tell me, tell each other. Spend the Chagim with this question and recommit yourselves to living this wild and precious life on the path of blessings, the path of community, and the path of life. Shana Tova. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah. Be'alma divrach hirutei ve'amlich malchutei b'chayechon v'yomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam olmei olmaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shmei dekudesha bricho le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Al Yisrael ve'al Rabbanan ve'al Tamidehon ve'al kol Tamidei Talmidehon ve'al kol man de'askim be'oraita di ve'atra hadein v'ti b'chol atar ve'atar Yehei lehon u'lechon shlama rabba china v'chista v'rachamin v'chayin arichin u'zener v'chei u'for kana min kodam v'hon v'shmaya v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim tovim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'ramav hu berachamav yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Thank you all for joining. Please now join me for a l'chaim and a little snack in the next room. Have a wonderful, wonderful year and a great rest of the day. Shana Tova.